Hello and welcome to Studio Hockey, your one-stop destination for everything related to the sport. This is Rajgir, Bihar in India. The Asia Cup concluded yesterday. The Men's Hockey Asia Cup concluded yesterday, and India won it. India won it undefeated and qualified for the World Cup. But I'm here to share my impressions over the last 10 days, what I analyzed in terms of the venue, the city, what I saw of the teams, the level of hockey in Asia, where it has reached, what it lacks, and how India played, of course. But starting with uh, the most important thing, the monkeys off the back. India don't have to go through the qualifiers next year in March. They have won the Asia Cup and have punched that ticket to the World Cup next year, which will be played in Belgium and Netherlands. Um, the tournament started with a couple of hiccups. Pakistan didn't come off because of political tensions between the two countries. Oman also pulled out, and those two places went to Bangladesh and Kazakhstan. But starting with Rajgir as a venue, because when we were traveling from the Gaya airport to the venue here in Rajgir, it surprised us. As soon as we touched the outskirts of the city, we were welcomed by mountains, beautiful skyline, and all that. And what also surprised us was the magnitude of this Rajgir Sports Complex spread across 90 acres, having 20 facilities for world-class facilities for 22 sports, including hockey, of course, cricket, stadium, a football pitch, uh, uh, athletics stadium, you name it. It has everything. But whether it can produce the kind of athletes that can excel at the international level, that remains to be seen. That's what the objective is. But then you need to produce the athletes to meet those objectives. That apart, the heat and the humidity here was the first test that everybody faced. The players, the teams, the officials, the crowd, we as the media professionals here. Uh, it it was just unbearable. The heat and the humidity for the first week. Uh, In fact, there were three H's. We were talking about it. There were three H's. There are three H's here when we come to Rajgir in summer. One is history because this is a very historic city. Has the Nalanda ruins, has the remains of the Cyclopean Wall. There's a lot of footprint of Buddhism, of course. Uh, the Bodhi tree is in Bodhgaya where Lord Buddha got enlightened, which is just 70 kilometers from here. So a lot of history here. But that's the first edge. The second edge we came across was heat. The third was humidity, and it was killing. And it showed on the teams as well. They were resorting to different measures. Korean team had their ACs off, I told, at their hotels. They were not using the air conditioners just to get acclimatized. Uh, the Bangladesh team was eating a lot of was drinking a lot of coconut water. Um, the Japanese team had cut down on their warm up times just to make sure the players are not exhausted in warm up. So those kind of measures were being taken by the teams. That was the effect of the humidity, and they had to acclimatize to it for the first week because the matches were scheduled from 9 a.m. starts to the last match at 3 p.m., which was in peak heat in the afternoon. India played their first two matches, which were 3 p.m. starts, and it showed that they were struggling in the heat in the first two matches, barely able to beat Korea, not Korea, barely able to beat China in their first match 4-3, and followed by Japan 3-2. In fact, I was writing about the last night's final, which India won, of course, beating Korea 4-1. We'll come back to that later. I was talking about that match and relating it to the first two matches of the tournament. And why I was relating it, because it's Harmanpreet Singh, the captain of the Indian team, who I believe is the player of the tournament for India. He scored 5 goals in those first 2 matches, and had he not scored those, India may have struggled, because they beat China 4-3. Harmanpreet scored a hat trick in that match. They beat Japan 3-2. Harmanpreet scored 2 goals in that match. So 5 goals in the first 2 matches, and goals that led to a victory and helped India to qualify for the Super Fours. But once they came into the Super Fours, it was a different team. One, because matches were happening in the afternoon, in the late evening, 7:30 p.m. starts. And second, the team had gelled together by then and were starting to play like the dominating force they are in Asia. Sukhjeet is another player who I think stood out, absolutely stood out. Uh, I would not say that he's the find of the tournament, because he has been with the team for some time, but he he created spaces. He's off the ball running. His receiving was consistently better throughout the tournament. That was, I think, the takeaway for Sukhjeet from this tournament. He was consistent throughout, especially in the Super Fours. India started the Super Fours with a 2-2 draw against Korea, uh, which again was not exactly how India would like to finish their moves, because while the connections were there, the attacking intent was there. Uh, what was missing was that last touch, which could convert those incisive moves into goals. That was missing. Abhishek had a terrible game, missed a lot of chances. So did other forwards as well. But once they beat Malaysia 4-1 and had those 3 field goals to take home, then they came back into their own. And then there was no looking back. China was thrashed 7-0. But while they were thrashed 7-0, but I would say that China team can take a lot of positives from this tournament. They look like a team that will challenge India and other Asian teams coming forward, looking ahead to maybe 2032 Olympics. But Oldmans, who is assisting Michel van der Heuvel, the new Dutch coach of China, he's saying that I see them in LA 28, which speaks a lot about the talent that he must have spotted in China. But Michelle, he gave a few comments to me, which I wrote about as well. But it also riled up a few people here, because he said that Asian hockey can't improve if all the things keep coming back to India. Things in the sense tournaments. Rajgir here has hosted 2 international tournaments in the last 10 months. The Women's Asian Champions Trophy in November last year, and this tournament, Men's Asia Cup now. But having said that, China hosted the Asian Champions Trophy, the Men's Asian Champions Trophy last year. There was the Junior World Cup in Kuala Lumpur. So maybe Michel, he can have his opinion, but maybe he's not entirely correct on that. What he was also not very happy about was the scheduling of the Asia Cup. He believed that 7 matches in 10 days for the teams that reach the final. Of course, they go on to play 7 matches in 10 days. So he said that kind of schedule is very taxing for the players. It should not be like that. He was trying to give an example of the Euro Hockey Championships, which recently concluded, where the teams played 5 matches in 8 days and had 3 rest days in between. Fair enough, point taken. Maybe that's something that the Asian Hockey Federation can work on. The scheduling can be better, but the tournaments in Asia are more or less spread out, so to say. Anyhow, then again, we come back to India. Craig Fulton made a very interesting remark where he said that why World Cup qualification from here was important is that because the calendar that's coming up, it's totally packed. Totally packed. India are going to South Africa. They had the Hockey India League. They had the Pro League. Uh, and I think there's the Azlan Shah. Yeah, there's the Azlan Shah Cup in Malaysia where India will also be traveling. So a lot of things coming up. On top of that, if there was the World Cup qualifier as well in March next year as it is scheduled, then it would have been a little tough. But plus, this getting this monkey off the back gives India more time to prepare, more time, and especially um, a, a kind of mind frames which gives them leeway to try different things out because they don't have to go through the qualifier. They know they are there in the World Cup. They will play the World Cup. So those kind of things have eased India a lot. And here's what Fulton told us right after the match.
A huge monkey off the back. Well, I think after 8 years and India last raised this trophy, it's nice to get into the final and do the job. And of course, a monkey off the back and gives you time to prepare better for the World Cup without the headache of the qualifiers. Yeah. I think it's quite a busy run in because we have Azlan Shah, we have a trip to South Africa, and then we have Hockey India League and then Pro League. So if you had to add another qualifier on top of that, it would be really difficult. So I'm glad we stayed away from that. Azlan Shah, are we going full strength because it's a pack? We'll see. We'll see what state we're in and what we need to achieve next year with the group that we have. Your takeaways from the tournament? Yeah, just a good tournament for us. 7 games in 10 days is no easy feat. And I thought physically we did really, really well. Even though the first 2 games are a little bit, we didn't finish as strong as we'd liked. But as we acclimatized, we got stronger and stronger. And last night and tonight showed what we can do. Thank you, coach. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
To conclude everything, I think the Asian hockey needs to be talked about here. Of course, the World Cup spot was on offer. This is a continental showpiece, which is a qualifier for the World Cup, of course. But what needs to be talked about here is where Asian hockey is in terms of uh, competing with the country that is dominating here, which is India. China has showed promise, of course. Korea were the defending champions. They reached the final again. So they held India 2-2 in the Super 4 game. So they're, if not very much improved, they have not taken too many steps back. Then there is Malaysia. They will be almost killing themselves because they were leading 3-1 against Korea before losing 4-3 in the Super Fours. That made the difference between them reaching the final or Korea reaching the final. Eventually, they finished third, beating China in the third place playoff. But they would have wanted to play their third consecutive Asia Cup final. They played the last 2 finals, of course. But um, that's where Malaysia may has to work on. You remember the Asian Games final where they lost to Japan after comfortably leading. So those kind of things, I think Malaysia has to work on. China is coming up, I'm sure, under Michelle and their coaching staff, his coaching staff. They will do a lot better in the coming years. Japan, again, they they're they're just about there. They won the 2018 Asian Games, of course, but since then they haven't made much of a noise in terms of Asian hockey. And of course, to round it off, the teams that finished from second to sixth, that is the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, at least teams from here will play the qualifiers. Bangladesh and Pakistan, what I have been told is they will go through a 3-match playoff to get into the pool of the qualifiers. So that's it from here in terms of impressions from Rajgir, the Asia Cup. I'm sure I was able to do justice to the coverage that I tried from here. And of course, we'll keep meeting on Studio Hockey on the podcast that we do. This week, there was an exception. We couldn't get a guest in because I was here covering the Asia Cup. But then I hope this little podcast where I'm telling you everything about Rajgir and what happened in the Asia Cup is something that you will be interested in and you will like watching. Thank you so much for watching Studio Hockey.